Hello friends, it's Christy with greenlivingoffgrid.com, and today we're going to talk about starting tomato plants indoors with a deep water culture hydroponic grow system. I have here a couple little systems I've designed. I've got these little plants that I've picked up from the store, and they're in little pots with dirt, and I typically grow my tomatoes in a hydroponic deep water culture. What that means is basically you have a bucket with net pots. So I'm going to take the tomato out of this dirt pot and I'm going to put them in a net pot, and then I'm going to aerate the water reserve in the bucket with a little aeration grid, as you can see here. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you how to build one of these systems out of a little coffee cup. The coffee cup lid, we're going to put a little net pot in the coffee cup lid. I'm going to use one of these little units, aeration units that I made. I'm going to show you how to do that. And then we're going to set this little coffee pot up to be a little small deep water culture bin for this tomato plant. And I'm basically doing this just for about a month before I put the plants outside. It's too cold to put them outside right now here in Colorado. So I'm starting them indoors in these little coffee pots. I've used to start them in this bucket, but I have cats now that like to jump on the buckets and chew the plants, or more often than not pot the plants and just play with them. And of course that kind of destroys the purpose of having a indoor hydroponic system for the plants while you're waiting the extra month before you can put them outside. So I had to abandon my nice little 5-gallon bucket and go with something a little bit smaller that I could keep in this grow box in order to keep my cats out while I'm growing them for about a month. For this project, you're going to need circle hose line. This is probably a 1/4 inch soaker hose line. And you're going to need some 5/16 size stainless steel washers that are the 3/16 grade. You're also going to need some goof plugs. You can get these over at Home Depot. 1/4 inch barb tees. And a 1/4 inch elbow. I'll show you how that all goes together. So here is the little aeration device that you're going to make for each of these little coffee pots. You can see I put 4 of those 5/16 size washers, stainless steel, 3/16 grade, which is your marine grade. I have 2 on each of these. I have the little soaker hose line. It's only about 1.5 inches or so. I have the little barbed elbow right here, which is where I'm going to connect the air line. I've got the goof plugs on the end to keep air from coming out the end of the tube, because you want it to come out obviously through those little holes in this soaker hose line. And I also put some additional holes in the line. I actually use a staple remover, a little staple remover that I just kind of punch extra holes, because hydroponic solutions tend to clog the holes in these little soaker hose lines. So you want to make the holes a little bit bigger. So you can probably see if you look closely that I put quite a bit of extra holes in these little lines. So now that we have our aeration grid done, we're ready to drill the 3-inch hole for the net pot into the container. So I'm going to drill my 3-inch hole. You can see I have a 3-inch hole saw right in the center. Okay, there's our 3-inch hole. Now we're just going to check it and make sure that the net pot works. Yep, fits it nicely. And now it's a little bit off center, just slightly. I'm going to put the air hole in the section where I have a little bit more space in the lid. I used a 1/4 inch bit to drill the hole for the airline. And now I connected up my airline, as you can see, to that little elbow. I just pushed it on the end there. And so now it's time to feed the air line through the lid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of work it through that hole. All right. I've got my little aeration grid connected to the lid. I've got to clean the container out, but once I rinse this all out, I'll be ready to set up my hydroponic reserve. It'll be really easy. So I'll just put it inside here, just like that. The washers help to hold the unit down so that it doesn't float up. So once I get this all positioned in here at the right height, there we go, I'll be able to put my tomato plant in here. Alright, as you can see here, I have everything all hooked up, interconnected. I have little airline keys and connectors and set up so that I could connect all of these coffee pot bins all together with the same airline supply source. I'm just running one of these little Whisper single airline pumps. It's quieter. It's the quietest pump I've found, and since this is running in my bedroom, it's nice to have a quiet pump for this. So you can see that that single line pump delivers enough air for these 4 bins nicely. It just aerates the devices nicely. There's our little T, as you can see in the bottom. And we're coming up through the lid. So the next thing to do is to transplant these little tomato plants into these hydroponic bins. I think I have 4 plants. It looks like that there are 2 plants in each of these pots, but we'll see when I actually get the roots apart what we actually have. If not, I'm going to clone. If they're just, a sucker line on this one plant, I'll just clone one of these stems, and what you do is you stick one of the stems in water with aerated water and it will grow its own roots. The other thing I will do before I transplant these is add a little bit of nutrients. I'm going to add some hydroponic nutrients, since these are half-gallon containers and I only have them about half to 3/4 full. I'll do probably, it's a teaspoon per gallon, probably be a 1/4 teaspoon, not more than a half teaspoon. Obviously that might be a little bit strong. So that's what I'll do for nutrients. Add some Maxi Grow to help these guys get going before I put them outside. Okay, here I have my tomato plant, or possibly 2 plants. I think I have 2 in this bin. I'm going to carefully squeeze around the base to remove the tomato as gently as possible, and then we're going to try to work the soil out of the roots. Well, here I've submerged the root ball in this bucket of water and rinsed out most of the dirt. It's clear we have 2 separate plants here. Well, with a little more rinsing, I have discovered that they're a little too tangled to get them fully separated. So I'm going to have to cut right down here in the middle just to separate the 2 plants. Alright, here they are. You can see I was able to separate them with each of them having their own taproot. So I just gently had to cut that little bit of a root mass at the very base of the plant. And now they're ready to go into the hydroponics system. I'm going to fish them through the hole on the bottom of my net pots. So you can see I have them right here in these containers. I'm just going to fish the roots right on through, and then put some Rockwell cubes around it. What I've done is I cut the Rockwell cube, one of these little cubes, I cut them in half. I use them as supports around the base of the plant to keep it from falling through the hole in the bottom of the net pot. The roots come on down through the net pot, and then I put hydrogen. I put the hydrogen around to support the plant. And then I will transport this to my little aerated bins with the coffee pots, and I'll be able to pull these out real easily and put them in those bins. So that is how I'm taking my tomato plants from the dirt, putting them into the 3-inch net pots with some hydrogen and rockwool cubes around to support the base of the plant. Well, there they are. The tomatoes are all successfully transplanted into these little coffee pot deep water culture aeration water reserves with a little bit of nutrients and some good light. I think these guys will probably recover within a week from the shock of transplant. Well, here we are exactly 1 week later. Would you look at that? Look at how much they've grown under these deep water culture little coffee cup hydroponic setups. 1 week after I split the roots apart from the dirt tomato pots they were in from the store. They're doing really well with the aeration, the lighting in my grow tub, and now those stalks are getting long enough I can even do some cloning. That'll be fun. I'll do that in another video.